Once upon a time, there was a wingless bird called Time. Whenever it opened its beak, colourful winged words would spill out. Those words spread across the universe, and one day a little fairy heard them and named this journey a tale. From that day on, everyone held onto the wings of stories and flew to lands unknown. One day, when I fell from my cradle and began to cry, the ground split open and I found myself in a completely different realm. Mermaid maidens gave me flowers, white cats cut my hair and placed a whistle in my hand. Witches turned me into a fish and then back into a human again. I rode a blue horse of 6, escaped the wrath of the 7 dwarves, flew with the phoenix on Mount Kaf, and learned my path from 9 dragons. I crossed the sea of candles on a ship of fire and finally returned home. Then one day, I awoke from my dream. It turned out I had been inside a thought all along. My grandmother wrapped me in her arms and whispered my tale to me every night. And so I grew up and wrote the tale of the dark forest. When the tale ended, the moon fairy came to me, held my hand and said, "O little friend who writes the tale and those who will read it, may your eyes be filled with hope, your heart with love, and your path with wisdom. May kindness follow your every breath and courage your every step." And so the tale spread its wings once more, soaring toward the next dream. The Black Forest, Chapter 1. The White Forest and the Forbidden Border. Once upon a time, in lands far, far away, there was a forest where the soil, the days, and even the words were pure white. The White Forest. Life here was peaceful, yet that peace had very sharp boundaries. To the north stretched the Sugar Lake, whose waters tasted sweet as candy. And just beyond it lay a place so terrifying that even speaking its name was forbidden: the Black Forest. The greatest and strictest rule of the White Forest was this: never go to the Black Forest. According to the legends, once you stepped into it, you could never return. And even if you did, the footprints you left on the snowy white ground would remain pitch black forever. Like everyone living in the forest, little black Agouti Agu had grown up with these tales of terror. But Agu was different. He was curious, brave, and eager to prove he was growing up. He was 9 years old and had just passed the challenging talent exam with the highest score. That night, determined to prove his courage to himself, he decided to walk along the eerie Havkor path by the lakeside, a path no one dared to cross. As the wind made the bushes dance, Agu encountered something he had only heard of in old tales. Before him stood a moon fairy with shimmering wings, ocean blue eyes, and a sorrowful face. Her name was Aya. Aya was the first and only being to escape the cursed Black Forest in 500 years. Now, she was asking this small Agouti for something that would break every rule of the White Forest. "Help me, Agu. I must save my friends." Agu was stunned. "Aren't you just a legend?" he asked. Aya explained that legends were forgotten truths. Long ago, the Black Forest had been the forest of hope until the black creatures invaded. They were not immortal, but they possessed 70 lives, each one bound to a strand of hair. At sunrise, they slept and became invisible. At sunset, they awoke and regained their lost lives. The only way to destroy them was to take all 70 lives in a single night. The Great War 500 years ago. Aya told Agu of the final war. The moon fairies and forest folk had united, forging moonlight weapons and carving crescent-shaped trenches. When the battle began, the plan worked. The creatures were trapped, their lives fading one by one, victory within reach. Then fate intervened. The sky turned crimson. A blood moon eclipse darkened the battlefield. Deprived of moonlight, the fairies collapsed instantly. Defenseless, the forest warriors fought alone. All 9,000 were slaughtered. When the eclipse passed, the fairies awoke, chained to trees, surrounded by death. Their grief was so deep that their moon rose symbols turned black, the curse of tears. From that moment on, they cried without end. Wherever a moon fairy wept in unbearable sorrow, the moon would never shine again. That is why the Black Forest had remained in darkness for 500 years. Powerless to enter without moonlight, no one could save the imprisoned fairies. Aya alone had managed to stop crying for a moment and escape. But the leader of the White Forest, Akata, refused to help, bound by old anger. Meanwhile, the moon shield weakened. Time was running out. Soon, the creatures would break free and devour the world. Argu's decision and a new beginning. Argu listened in silence. Everything he believed had been built from fear. Aya was not asking for help. She was asking for a miracle. He was afraid. If he left, he might never return. But his heart spoke louder than his fear. Aya, Argu said, his voice trembling yet firm, I will help you. Because if we do nothing, one day that darkness will come knocking at our door too. And so one tale ended and another began. A tiny agouti and a wounded moon fairy stepped into the unknown to chase away the darkness and rekindle a forgotten hope.